still believe in the American dream. I still believe you can hear me scream. It's still alive, still on fire. I defy, it ain't no I don't care what they do to me. I'm addicted to liberty. I will cross that Concord Bridge. It's the bridge to my destiny. 'Cause I'll pursue life. I'll pursue my happiness. 'Cause I'm so damn alive. I'm so in love with this. I was born in Detroit town. Heart and soul of America.
Oh, look at that. A little a little extended play Ted Nugent for our friends at Una Voz Unida, because I know they love Ted Nugent so much. Which, by the way, I've never revealed this to anyone. Eric, you'll be my therapist today. How's that? Erich Pratt, by the way, of Gun Owners of America, gunowners.org, joins me on the show today because Tim Macy wussied out. I'm kidding. He's fighting some back issues. So, Eric, I actually tried out for the 7th grade talent show doing my best Ted Nugent bit.
Did you really?
Yeah.
How did it go?
I didn't make it. Apparently they didn't see the budding talent that I really was. But if they're lost, is all I can tell them. Complete. I mean, I didn't go in the complete loincloth, and I simulated the loincloth while wearing the jeans. But took my guitar and did a little.
Yeah, that would have been a little bit much.
Yeah,
and even now, I think that's too much for your listeners.
It probably is.
There's a mental image there we really don't want, Jason.
That hurts, Eric. Big people have feelings too, Eric. So anyway, all right, let's get to these hot stories because there's a jillion of them. And gosh, looky here, someone else with your name, the last name of Pratt. Could they be related? I don't know. Larry Pratt under withering assault, but not really, because Larry I love his demeanor, especially when he's being attacked. He just reminds me of my wife's grandfather, who's just the kindest, gentlest guy, and just the infectious chuckle that he gives when, Piers Morgan and people like this are attacking him. So here's this story, and this is over at Gun Owners of America's website, gunowners.org. Thousands of gun owners stand and say, "I'm Larry Pratt." What is this? Tell people this story. This is incredible.
Sure. Well, it all started about a little over a week ago. And to be honest, to set the bigger context, it's probably the frustration that is coming out of the left. You have the president saying his biggest frustration of his presidency is not getting gun control enacted. And when he says things like that, it's kind of like a dog whistle for the left. And so they have been relentless, because Gun Owners of America has been perhaps the group that even the lefties, like the New York Times and other publications, have given GOA the credit for defeating gun control last year. And of course, it wasn't just us. It was our very active members who just were hammering their senators. So anyway, so here's the dog whistle, right? So Rolling Stone and several other liberal rags, take the bait, and they just printed this ruthless piece against Larry, my father, just full of, packed with lies. Now, you'd have to dig in there, and there were some true things from time to time. For example, they said one of the scary things about him is that he believes that the Second Amendment is for restraining tyrannical tendencies in government.
Oh, how crazy, Eric! That's just insane. Who believes stuff like that? I mean,
who believes that? Exactly right. So, what was funny is as a result then, one of the representatives from New York, Carolyn Maloney, rhymes with baloney.
Yeah.
She called officially for an investigation of Larry Pratt, saying she felt threatened by his views, yada yada, that this type of talk is very unbecoming, it's anti-statist, blah blah blah, and she actually called for the Capitol Hill police to investigate Larry, and so here's where the I'm Larry Pratt then comes in, because a gun rights reporter named David Kadria kind of took this up. And he said, remember the movie I'm Spartacus, where there at the end the Romans are saying, give us Spartacus and we'll let all the rest of you go, and he's the only one who'll be crucified. And all these slaves end up standing up and saying, I'm Spartacus, I'm Spartacus, I'm Spartacus. and so Kadria, this author, he says, look, I'm Larry Pratt, because if the Capitol Hill police are going to investigate him, then they're going to have to investigate me too, because I agree with everything Larry Pratt said on the Second Amendment being the last resort protection against tyranny. And so, we posted that on our Facebook page, our gun owners Facebook page, and thousands of people have responded, chiming in, I'm Larry Pratt, and hey, we should be investigating Maloney instead, and hey, how about those other investigations like Fast and Furious and the IRS scandal? I mean, why not investigate real scandals and leave Larry Pratt alone? So it's been a lot of fun.
Oh, man, that is great. So these people are losing their cookies. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The more they're losing in the public policy arena, and I will go back. I don't know if it was you that was on the show the night that I said this. One of our fine Gun Owners of America friends, I think we were talking about this one night. But I've been doing a little research into the 20-year data that we have at the with Texas concealed licensing, the Texas DPS. And one of the things I started noticing trending, and I hadn't been able to get all the numbers together because I converted from their format to a format that I can use. But just in looking at the raw numbers, I started noticing over the last 10 years, say, out of that 20 years, that the reason I think we're winning and starting to win in really impressive ways is because of women in the gun issue. That there are so many women driving this issue because just in the retail arena where there are so many accessories, dare I say it, for guns, and once gun manufacturers and gun what's the word I'm looking for, Eric? Gun
accessories.
Yeah, accessories. I guess is the only grips and holsters and concealed carry holsters and things that make it easier for women to conceal carry and those kind of things. The pink hand grips, the pink camo, the browning, pink and brown logo of the stuff that is strictly marketed to women is just exploding. And therefore, so are the number of concealed carry licenses issued by the state of Texas. That's why I believe we are starting to kind of have, victories running away. I mean, do you agree with that? Are you seeing that in other places?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just a Texas thing, although you would expect this to happen in Texas. But yeah, all over the country. In fact, since 2007, the number of concealed carry permits has more than doubled in this country. And in fact, during that same period, the gun murder rate, just gun murders, the number of gun murders has dropped 12% in this country. So you've got more people carrying guns. You've got even fewer gun murders occurring. It would be a whole nother story. Concealed carry permits, the murder rate. I mean, the liberals would then be, doing the Chicken Little thing. Oh, this guy is falling. Regardless of the Constitution, hey, we need to rein this in. But in fact, it's everything that we've ever predicted. Everything that John Lott says in his book, more guns, less crime. That's exactly what's happening. And you're absolutely right about the women factor, which has been, or woman factor, which has been exciting. Just the other day on Fox News, their morning show, the cable news. There was a gal who runs a restaurant in Tennessee, and she was saying, our business was on the brink of financial disaster.
Oh,
We were almost out of business. And then they posted this sign, "Guns are welcome on the premises. Please keep all weapons holstered unless the need arises, and in such case, judicious marksmanship is appreciated." Well, people have loved it. I mean, they're getting national recognition now.
Yeah.
Their business is booming. So, I mean, this is something that really, as there have been more and more concealed carry laws, heck, now all 50 states have some version of concealed carry, and yet the murder rates continue to go down. People see, this really is a win-win situation. This is the thing that keeps us safe. We know the police can't be there to protect us, and you're right. I think that's why this issue is advancing so well.
Well, and I don't have the story right in front of me. I actually had seen it. It may be one that Tim sent me, but you just reminded me of it, going back to the restaurant deal, because I saw that story a few weeks ago, and it is incredible that saved that restaurant from, as you said, going bankrupt and having to close its doors. And I thought to myself then that there's going to be restaurants like this now springing up to, to fill that market niche, and and so with that will come more marketing of things like that. So, of course, what do I see but a story where now some Congress dork wants to limit the kinds of paraphernalia, hats, T-shirts, and those things. Literally, they don't want you to be able to sell like NRA or GOA, anything gun-related type hats, caps, things like that to kids under 18 years old. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, these congressmen are such tyrants. I mean, where is the constitutional authority for that?
Yeah.
And they just don't care. It's just we have the power to do it. And really, what they are after is they're after affecting the hearts and minds, of America. And that's why we see this battle in the schools where they have the uttermost, strictest zero tolerance, where if somebody just simply extends their finger with their thumb pointed up, that can get them expelled. I mean, no lie, just flashing the gun sign with your hand has gotten kids expelled, or kids who are playing with fake imaginary guns, shooting forces of evil, as they said. They've been expelled. But see, what the left is after is brainwashing the upcoming generation, and they actually use that word from time to time. The Attorney General Eric Holder, back when he was in the Clinton Justice Department, he used that exact term to encourage advertising that would do to guns what had been done to cigarettes. And he said we actually have to brainwash people into thinking differently.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
So what you're describing with this law, I mean, we have to realize that's really the war that is on here. It's a war, a battle for the hearts and minds. They realize that they're losing from state to state to state. Now, 50 states, as we were just talking about, have concealed carry in some form or another. So, but the other side is relentless. And boy, if that's not a reason for good folks like us to stay involved, that's why we're so glad you're doing what you're doing with your show, Jason. And that's why we're here at Gun Owners of America, fighting the fight that we're fighting.
Oh, absolutely. All right, let's go to the phone. Hi, you're on AM 1070, FM 107.1.
Hi, Jason. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Just a quick item, and I just want to tell you and let you guys discuss it. But 3 or 4 years ago, there's a gentleman at 3 o'clock in the morning that was running from the police, came over and came into my backyard, and I could hear him in my backyard. The police were in the alley and in the street in front of me looking for this guy, and when I called it in, it took 3 minutes for them to get from the street to my door. By the time they communicated back and forth, confirmed the address, and there were 2 officers with their hand on their pistol at my front door.
Wow.
So when we say, I've got the police, I've got this and that, if this guy had kicked in my back door, I would have shot him in my living room.
Yeah. Yeah,
because there wasn't any way to slap him on the hand and say, we need to talk about this.
Yeah.
That's not nice.
Sir, you may not realize this, but you are actually violating statute, whatever it is.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow.
And I told him I was going to tell him he ought to be ashamed of himself.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's something I want y'all to discuss and maybe some other people. Thank you, Jason.
All right, thanks. 620-8700. That is the reality, Eric. As they say, what is that little saying about when the police are minutes away? I can't remember.
Well, when they're needed in seconds, they're minutes away.
Yeah,
something like that.
Or my favorite, I carry a gun because the cop is too heavy.
Well, the caller brings up a great point, and we've actually seen some stories like this. There was one in Gainesville, Texas, within the last week where a guy was actually charging at the dad and attacking him until he saw the 13-year-old son with his Ruger .22 caliber rifle, and at the sight of that, didn't even have to fire a shot. The guy ran off. Of course, the cops had been called, but it wasn't until way after the guy left that the cops actually arrived. And, obviously it's no fault to the cops. It's not saying anything bad about them or demeaning them. They just simply can't be everywhere at the same time, but yet we shouldn't be forced to rely on them either for our protection.
Right. No, that's exactly right. 620-8700, let's grab this line. Hi, you're on AM 1070, FM 107.1.
Yeah, who's your guest?
Erich Pratt of Gun Owners of America.
Yeah, I always hear Larry Pratt come on the Alex Jones show quite a bit.
Well, we've actually had Larry on here as well. We've had the full leadership, I think, at one time here on the radio show.
I was going to say, I really support your organization more so than the NRA, and I'm really proud of what you guys have done. Gun Owners of America, and maybe comment on the fact that this isn't something that's just we should just take the guns away from people. This is part of like a takeover, right? This is part of shutting the economy down, disarming the public, and then, enslaving the people. This is what all the bullets the government bought. This is what all the coffins the government has outside of the cities. This is the real deal. This isn't, some people got in office one day and decided guns are bad, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
All right, good call. Good question too. I mean, and it kind of goes to the heart, Eric, of what our first story was about what your dad did say, and all historical evidence points to that unarmed people are a people that are enslaved.
Exactly right. And the ironic thing is in investigating Larry, or at least calling for the investigation, what this representative was doing. If she's going to be fair, well, she's going to also have to call for an investigation into our founding fathers, because they exactly made these points that a disarmed people is an enslaved people, that the right to keep and bear arms is the way to keep us free, to keep us from tyranny. And these guys just don't get it on Capitol Hill. And yet there's an irony to this too, because as much as they say that we were threatening in just articulating the real meaning of the Second Amendment, they totally ignore calls for real violence on the left. They totally ignore that. A sitting senator, John Kerry, joking about shooting the president on the Bill Maher show, or talk show host Montel Williams calling for Michelle Bachmann's wrist to be slit, or even better yet, to move 2 feet up and start with the knife at her collarbone, or MSNBC, which is left of left, but one of their talk show hosts talking about ripping Dick Cheney's heart out and stuffing it back in. I mean, just on and on. A former Democrat representative talking about putting the Florida governor up against the wall and shooting him firing squad style. I mean, all these, and there's many more like that, but all these violent talk that they just simply ignore, and then yet when a guy like Larry Pratt says, you know what, the Second Amendment is about restraining tyranny, now all of a sudden, we're the bad guy.
Yeah.
Just the hypocrisy is immense.
Well, let me ask you this before we go to break. I mean, it clearly looks like to me that this woman has filed a fraudulent police report. I mean, clearly, this is in the arena of speech that is, Larry Pratt is a known advocate of the Second Amendment, has made gazillions of statements in recorded interviews, and this is obviously a political play that this woman is trying to use police to stifle free speech by filing what I consider to be a false police report. Is she going to be held accountable for filing a fraudulent police report? I mean, this that's
a good question, and it's something that we looked at. I think if the Capitol Hill, thankfully, the Capitol Hill police said no, we're not going to do that. But if they had actually begun to expend resources in doing this investigation, then I clearly think there would have been a violation of either law or certainly House rules for using law enforcement as a tool against your political enemies. But you're absolutely right. These people who preach freedom, freedom, freedom are the biggest tyrants around, and they'll use anything they can to either intimidate or shut up their opposition.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, it's you're listening to the Watchdog radio program on AM 1070, FM 107.1, and, of course, on your .com machine at KWEL.com. And you can, of course, hear Larry Pratt as well. If you go to the audio clips part of the website, we're posting some of the interviews that we do there. Also, you can go to gunowners.org, gunowners.org. That's the website where you can not only sign up for the newsletter, but you can also get a membership over there. You can gift a membership. You can renew your membership. Anyway, just give money if you want to see the cause move forward. And these guys do a whole lot with just a little bit of resources. They really do stretch the penny as far as it'll go. And that's the one thing, beyond, of course, helping us with the Second Amendment, the one thing I really appreciate most about what Gun Owners does is how frugal they are with the resources. I mean, I've dealt with Tim behind the scenes on so many things, and to hear him gripe and carry on if a single dollar is spent wastefully, it just drives him nuts. I mean, he just goes bonkers. But that's the kind of mindset you got to have when you rely on donations to fuel your organization. So it's something that gun owners should be very proud of. Erich Pratt will take a break, be back right after these filthy, stinking capitalist messages.
Well, a hammer fell down on a 44 primer. Now there's one less problem in South Carolina tonight. Wrong or right? She just looked at me as she finished her tale, and her blank expression went another shade pale of gray. There was nothing.
All right, 620-8700 if you want to be part of the program. It's Erich Pratt of Gun Owners of America, gunowners.org. Get over there right now and sign up for the newsletter. And, of course, get a membership while you're there as well. Or renew your membership. Some of you may be getting close to renewal date on that. Get that done because Eric, you guys take that money and a lot of what you – make sure I'm not saying this wrong, because I know you also have a foundation. So I know there's 501c3 money and C4 money and those kinds of things. So I don't want to say something incorrect and get used in trouble with the IRS. But a lot of that money is what you use to go vet candidates. Is that correct?
Well, that would be actually PAC money or the Political Victory Fund. So that would be neither of those. But if people can actually contribute to that, we do have a website for that, the Political Victory Fund. You can just that's probably the easiest way. Just Google GOA PVF for the Political Victory Fund, and we're supporting good candidates. Just got a guy elected yesterday in a runoff who's going to be the Mr. Second Amendment gun guy. We're really excited. His name is Jody Heiss, and he's in Georgia. Because we're losing a couple of stalwarts, Steve Stockman of Texas and Paul Brown of Georgia. So this guy, we think, is going to be the next one to carry the torch.
All right. Oh, and by the way, it's GOAPVF for politicalvictoryfund.org. GOAPVF.org. In fact, I'll post that on the Facebook page as well, because we want to make sure that fund keeps some dough in it, because that's one of the most, to me, it's one of the most important things that Gun Owners of America does, is this endorsement of candidates, and not just an endorsement. Again, it's something I've worked with Tim for several years on Texas politicians. If I get any leads on anything or something that I think will help GOA in a decision in a race, I certainly share it. And I know, though, that, in fact, one in particular, I won't mention the candidates right now. I just don't know if that's necessary. But, a little behind the scenes is we were discussing, for instance, another gun group that gave a Harry Reid endorsement, essentially, because he voted right once on some bill.
Right.
And I talked about this particular politician in Texas, and I said, this guy is actually really great on guns, but so is the person running against him. And not only is the person good on guns, just like the incumbent is, but this challenger is good on tax issues, on all the other things that conservatives view as equally as important. And it's one of the things that gets lost a lot of times in these, and I'm not just talking about gun groups, but single issue organizations, which are great, which I think are very necessary to what we're doing, because none of us can focus on all the issues at once. And so having a Gun Owners of America tell us where somebody is on guns is highly important. But with that, if we get a person that's good on guns but just murders taxpayers at every turn with horrible tax policy and those kind of things, then what have we really gained? If you can also get a good gun person that's good on all the other stuff, and I know some groups don't think about all the other issues, but I've seen gun owners say, well, that's an important point, because we don't want to hamper Texas taxpayers just because they're just good on guns.
Yeah, and one thing that we do to help folks is we put the grades for every single person who's running for the Congress and the Senate, and that'll be up on our website come mid-October. It'll also be in our newsletter, which people go to our website at gunowners.org, that they can sign up to start receiving the newsletter. It's $20 a year, and that'll have it. So that'll be in a nice way where they can distribute it, make copies of the rating, distribute it, and people should know. I mean, we interview, a survey, that is, all the candidates. And we really do a job in terms of researching their records if they're already an incumbent, and basically giving you, this is what their real rating is. There are some other groups out there that give ratings, as you were kind of alluding to, based on, well, we'll give him a better grade than he deserves, but hopefully that'll get us access into their office. We don't play those kind of games. We just let the chips fall where they may, and we give you the grade that a representative or senator deserves. And sometimes it makes them angry at us. But then our response is, well, you start supporting the Second Amendment, and your grade will get better.
Vote better, and you get a better grade. That's how it works.
That is exactly how it works.
Genius. All right, let's grab a phone call here. Hi, you're on AM 1070, FM 107.1.
I think it's worth mentioning that Carol Maloney became a Congress critter because her husband got shot on the subway in New York City. And I'm thinking, if it wasn't for people like her and he had a concealed carry, he might still be alive today.
Well, and I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah,
mean, I don't know the circumstances.
Go ahead.
I don't know the circumstances behind her husband getting shot, but you're saying that. So I don't know if it was like a shootout type situation where someone with a concealed carry could have defended the guy, or he defended himself by being a concealed carry holder or whatever. But I mean, some things you just can't avoid. So, like I said, not knowing the circumstances behind her husband's death, I don't know if that would have saved him or not.
Just to clarify, I believe that was Carolyn McCarthy.
Okay. I'm sorry. I guess I got the wrong one.
Similar name. But,
right.
you know, that is the problem with New York City, is where, 99.9% of the public, unless you know somebody powerful and important and can get a permit, you're going to be denied a permit.
Wow.
And so as a result, people just aren't allowed to carry unless they're the rich and famous. You know, the publisher of the New York Times and things like that have been able to get permits. And so, we can only, speculate, but probably speculate correctly that, that would have been a deterrent. And you don't see these types of shootings occur in places where people can freely carry guns. In fact, we see over and over that murderers choose gun-free zones where people have been disarmed by law.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if I recall right, the guy that shot her husband was crazy, and he just started shooting people.
Yeah.
And, it was kind of like that situation in Colleen where those people were all in that restaurant that was a gun-free zone, and nobody was able to stop them. And certainly if somebody had a gun, I mean, a long time ago when I can't recall the gentleman's name, but he shot 3 or 4 black kids that had sharpened screwdrivers. Bernard Getz, I think his name was.
Bernard Getz, yeah.
And there was no muggings on the subway for 2 months.
That's right. That's right. Well, again, just to underscore the point, you go back 50 years, and all the public mass shootings have occurred, except for 2, have occurred in gun-free zones where people are disarmed by either policy or by law. So it's not a coincidence. A lot of these guys, we say, they're crazy or whatever, but interestingly enough, they manage to find the places where they're going to be the only one with a gun. So they may be evil, they may be crazy, but they're not really stupid if they can figure that out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, good work, as always, young man.
You.
All right, 620-8700. Back to, speaking of Carolyn Maloney, the letter, so your dad writes a letter to her, an open letter to Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, and I love that he writes several things in here that people need to be reminded of. He says, lest you believe that I stand on the fringes of civilized society, let me provide you with some other sources for that same principle which I was enunciating. That when any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government. That's, of course, the Declaration of Independence. A man's rights rest in 3 boxes: the ballot box, the jury box, and the cartridge box. Frederick Douglass, obviously a racist. Where the people fear the government, you have tyranny. Where the government fears the people, you have liberty. John Basil Barnhill. And this one, Antonin Scalia, when the, let's see here. Okay. Are you back, Eric?
I am sorry, we got disconnected.
No, I'm sorry. When the able-bodied men of a nation are trained in arms and organized, they are better able to resist tyranny. That's from Antonin Scalia. And the last thing that's in this letter, and the letter is great. I think I've tweeted it out earlier. And I'm so glad he reminded us of this situation. The importance of an armed citizenry was demonstrated in 1946 when, returning from World War II, veterans found their hometown of Athens, Tennessee, had been taken over by corrupt local politicians. It was those veterans' access to and experience with firearms that made possible the preservation of ballot boxes that were about to be fraudulently counted in what has come to be known as the Battle of Athens. A 1992 movie entitled An American Story commemorates the actions of these brave veterans. So again, a very important story, and it just underscores the importance of having an armed citizenry, because without that, politicians can rig the game even worse than they've got it rigged right now. And I think your dad has been right to be very vocal about where this is heading and what the intent of the Second Amendment is. Let's grab a phone call here real quick. Hi, you're on AM 1070, FM 107.1.
Well, first of all, liberals don't fear tyranny because they are tyrannies. And they feel, and they're so stupid, they don't realize there are other forms of tyranny than what they propose.
Right.
I will say that
it's kind of hard to fear tyranny when you're the tyrant, is what you're saying. When you're the subject of tyranny, then it's ever present in your mind.
Well, yeah, they don't realize that you can jump from the frying pan into the fire. I mean, liberalism is a mental disorder. You know, the revolutionaries in Mexico have learned this many times.
Yeah.
They sacrifice their life, and they're no better off for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, the guy was talking about these guns and stuff. Well, heck, I've got on this subject here, and I guess I forgot my train of thought.
Well, that's okay. You'll regroup. Try a margarita and see if that helps.
All right, thanks.
All right, thanks. 620-8. Oh no, I just wiped off Erich Pratt. All right, we'll take a quick break.
Well, they say that the country's done. They say that the stock market's gonna crash. They say that every single one of us is gonna lay down while they walk across our back. But I'ma stand up. I'm gonna put my fists in the air.
All right, 620-8700. It's Lock and Load Thursday on the Watchdog Radio program. Thanks for being with us. It's Erich Pratt of Gun Owners of America, gunowners.org, and we're back here after I've cut him off for the second time today. And let's grab a phone call here. Hi, you're on AM 1070, FM 107.1.
Hello, this is Larry Pratt.
Hi, Larry. You don't sound like yourself today.
Well, it's a long-distance phone call. Yeah, that's what it is. I got a kick out of that. Yeah, I'm Larry Pratt. It was Carolyn McCarthy.
Okay.
And ran from New York, and I believe she also lost her son. It was her husband and her son, I believe so.
Wow.
But she ran. Yeah, she ran for Congress on that one platform. That was it. I'm a housewife, ban guns. And
wow.
I think she's still there. I think she's still, I'm not for certain, but she was a duly elected representative when the ban on assault weapons came in, or they were going to vote on it in 2003, 2001, something like that. And she stood on the floor and in Congress, House of Representatives, and had this huge poster, this photograph of an AK-47. and I was watching this on C-SPAN. And I watched the whole thing on C-SPAN. And as she spoke...
Wow, you really don't have a life, Robert.
I know. I really don't.
I've always wondered who these people were that call in, right?
Now you know. And Robert also listens to NPR, by the way.
I listen to now, wait a minute. I don't contribute to NPR.
Okay.
I listen to NPR.
Well, thank
I'm
God.
glad to hear that.
You said yesterday.
Well, actually, you do.
Well, we all do.
Right.
We all contribute to NPR. It's like PBS.
Yes.
You paid for it. But
we
you gotta know,
contribute to it, right?
Yeah, you got to know what your enemies are saying, right?
That's
true. You got to understand where they're coming from. You got to know the left.
That's why I watch MSNBC.
Dear Lord.
See, I'm not that bad. I can't think of
I watch it so you don't have to.
Yeah, thank you,
well,
Eric.
I listen to NPR so Jason doesn't have to.
Thank God. Both of you are getting Christmas cards this year just for that reason.
So she stands there and points to this full-blown placard, this picture of an AK-47, and says, because she's there on the floor and she can say anything she wants and she's not held liable. And she's telling the American public that if you vote against this ban, if we don't ban assault rifles, this, and she's pointing to the placard, and she says, this will be available on every street corner.
Oh, Lord.
Now, honestly, I want somebody to call and tell me what street corner have they seen AK-47?
I'm going to pick up a couple if that's true.
Well, yeah, I mean, according to her, they're just everywhere. I mean, all over.
Of course, with our experience with trying to ban things like drugs and other things, the best way to make it available on every street corner is actually to ban it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's like Chicago. See, they're banned in Chicago, but they're everywhere.
Exactly.
And everyone could get one. So, that's the case. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. But she was she was voted.
That is something.
I know. You're up against the break, and you got to go, and I appreciate the show. Thanks,
all right, thanks. 620-8700 if you want to be part of the Watchdog radio program. Let's jump over here to this story. We kind of hit on a couple of points of this. The anti-gun left is coming unglued. But I love this part of this story about how our activism really does make a difference. By the way, if you had signed up for the newsletter at gunowners.org, you would have gotten this in your newsletter. But the Harry Reid Preservation Act, and you guys call it, this was a nothing burger of a sportsman bill that gets trotted out every 2 years by Harry Reid in an attempt to help endangered anti-gun senators in red states get reelected. This year's version was introduced by GOA's F-rated Kay Hagan, and she was joined by 26 Republicans who also co-sponsored the bill. But why shouldn't they? It was entitled the Sportsman's Bill. Who could be against that bill? What happened from there, Eric?
Well, obviously this was a nothing burger bill. They wanted to get an easy vote to help endangered Democrats who are running in red states, like Kay Hagan, like you mentioned, Mark Begich in Alaska, Mark Pryor in Arkansas, Udall in Colorado, and on and on. And so we worked with the Republicans and said, okay, look, if they're going to do that, you guys offer some hard-hitting votes. Shove it down their throats. Say, okay, you want this easy vote? We're going to make you vote on some real reform, like concealed carry reciprocity.
Oh, yeah.
And some other good amendments that we gave him. Well, Harry Reid shut them out, would not allow any Republican amendments. And so as a result, when he tried to get a vote on breaking the filibuster, thankfully the Republicans said, look, if you're not going to give us votes on our amendments, then we're going to continue to filibuster this. And so he couldn't get enough votes to break the filibuster, and the bill died. So, but what was encouraging about this, I mean, we had our inside strategy working with the Republicans there in the Senate, but from the outside, the calls were coming in saying, do not pass this Harry Reid Preservation Act without allowing for good amendments like, saying no to the UN, like concealed carry reciprocity, like getting rid of Operation Choke Point, which is the
that's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, that's the one Rand Paul put up, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Rand Paul. I mean, and that is really important because Operation Choke Point is aimed at putting gun dealers out of business, making it virtually impossible for anybody to be able to buy a gun. And so this is a real dangerous assault. People can go to our website at gunowners.org and read alerts about it and take action on it because it's still very active. We can still do something about this. There's already a defunding provision which basically orders the administration to stop enforcing it in the House appropriations bill, and so now we're trying to work on getting it in the Senate and get it in the final bill that goes to the president in September, which is the big appropriations bill that funds the government. So anyway, that's the strategy, but it would really help if people are calling in their representatives and their senators and saying, hey, do not vote for an appropriation bill that does not have an amendment defunding Operation Choke Point.
All right, let's grab a quick phone call. Hi, you're on AM 1070, FM 107.1.
Oh, Captain, my captain.
Yes, sir. What's happening?
CG59 checking in.
Yes, sir.
Just real quickly, you guys had a couple of gun quotes. I have three that I'm going to give you real quick, and I'm sure that your guests will appreciate. The first one is Thomas Jefferson. And he says this: the strongest reason for the people to retain the right to keep and bear arms is, as a last resort, protect themselves against tyranny and government.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the lady that got our concealed carry in Texas said, at the Senate or the Congress or whatever. The Second Amendment isn't about protecting ourselves against criminals. It's about protecting all of us from all of you.
Yes.
And then, of course, my favorite by Uncle Ted, gun-free zones are a felon's playground.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Oh, he has a way of saying things.
Yeah. No.
And I've got a whole collection of freedom quotes, and I'll try to call in from time to time when the subject begs.
Well, that sounds great. Thanks. 620-8700 if you want to be part of the Watchdog. Oh, looky here. We're up against the hour. Erich Pratt, we appreciate you coming on today and walk off Homer, I think is what you did today. Walk off Homer for Erich Pratt. By the way, you can find gun owners at gunowners.org. Any last words here before we run?
Well, like always, it's been a pleasure. Just encourage people to go to the website, gunowners.org, sign up for our free email alerts, and if you're on Facebook, go ahead and like us on Facebook. You'll get a lot of really great stuff there.
All right, Erich Pratt, we appreciate it. Talk to you guys next week.